Hey everybody, it's been a little bit. Patrick here, and I wanted to catch you up on what I've been reading lately. If I look a little thin in the face, it's because I've been sick for a while, and I'm finally back on the road to recovery. I'm on the road to recovery, um, and it feels good to be. Lee and I actually went on a little walk today. Felt like I was going to die. I was so tired. But yeah, I'm doing a lot better. I was sick enough that I was able to read, but not a lot. And if I'm not able to read, I'm really sick. But I have been reading before I was sick, and of course now I'm on the mend. Been reading again. So just want to update you, as all of you know, I like to read things simultaneously. So I want to give just a quick little synopsis of each book that I either am currently reading or have just finished reading. Just got done reading The Gospel According to Moses by Daniel I. Block, who's a professor at Wheaton College. I am assuming he's still alive. I haven't really looked anything up on him. His Oftentimes I'll be reading an article or listening to a podcast, and I almost always check out books that folks recommend, or if someone references something and I want to see the quote in context, I'll often get the book from the library or just buy the book if it looks interesting enough. And in this case, I bought the book. And so in this book, it's a collection of essays. So it's the only thing that really holds it all together is it's all based on the book of Deuteronomy. Why I end up buying the book is this is an evangelical professor who's actually making a case that Christians should not be done away with the law, the Torah. And most Protestant evangelical believers today believe the Torah has been done away with. We don't need to follow it anymore. We live under grace now, so why even go to the Old Testament? Not even just the Torah, the Old Testament in general. And this author is saying that's not the case. There's a lot we need to learn from the Torah. And I agree with a lot of his points and definitely disagree with him on some of the others. But just let me read just a couple of interesting quotes in here, if I can find it. Oh, that's not it. So one of the points he makes is that, well, I can't find the quote off right off the bat, is that the question we often say is, or the way we frame it is, we only should follow the laws that the New Testament repeats. And if it doesn't repeat a law from the Old Testament, we don't need to follow it anymore. And if you're read in the Bible at all, you can that logic gets messed up really quickly, because there are some things that are very obvious that we obviously should still follow that aren't mentioned in the New Testament. What he says, really what we should be doing is we should be following it unless the New Testament explicitly states that there's no need to follow it anymore. And an example of this would be Old Testament sacrifice in the Levitical priesthood. Of course, in the book of Hebrews explicitly states that these are things that have been done away with. But anyways, great read, and it's definitely helping me reshape how I think about the Torah. Next book, They Had Names by Nathaniel Jensen. I think that's how you say his last name. Nathaniel T. It's either Jensen or Jensen. And he is, I'll let the cat out of the bag. He does work for Answers in Genesis in the Creation Museum. If you are not a believer, don't let that stop you from reading this. This does challenge a lot of mainstream thinking, but it is totally, totally worth reading. Something I love that he does in this book is we take oral traditions from native cultures in America, and we have this attitude of like, oh, those silly natives and they're supernatural, mythological stories, they're fairy tales. And what he ends up doing through genetic research and linguistics research, he ends up confirming at least one oral tradition. And this oral tradition was written down. It was called the Red Record. I think that's what it was called, the Red Record. And it confirms the basic timeline of the Red Record. And so the question he poses at the end, well, if that's the case for this record, are there other records we should be looking at and taking seriously? And of course, the answer is probably yes. So if you love Native American history, culture, this is a must read. Something I love it is the first 7/8 of the book is very straightforward reading. The last eighth and the appendices, he actually lays out all of his research and all the nitty gritty details in the genetics. So if you're a scientist and want to get into that and challenge him, which he invites the challenge, and replicate his research or see if you can, the invitation is open and it's in the book. So they have names. Next, I'm reading the works of Anne Bradstreet, America's first bard, a Puritan poet. And she is a wonderful poet and way more intelligent than I am, and very well read. Holy moly! But I'm just getting lost in these poems. The first batch of these poems, or at least the batch I'm in right now, there's the four humors, the four seasons, the four stages of life. It's these cycles of four. So I'm in the four seasons right now. The four seasons of the year, and I'm in the poem called Summer. A wonderful read. I love reading poetry, and Anne Bradstreet is fantastic. I just finished Perelandra, C.S. Lewis's book, and now I'm in the midst of that Hideous Strength. As I get older, I love C.S. Lewis's space trilogy. As I get older, I like Out of the Silent Planet more and more, and that Hideous Strength, man, my love for it just keeps growing and growing. My love for Perelandra is waning a little bit. And the reason I say that is just, it almost reminds me of like reading a dialogue from Plato or something. So a lot of these ancient philosophers would set up not plays, but dialogues between two people, and imagining them having a conversation, how that conversation would unfold. And a lot of Perelandra is that. And it's good, but it's the narrative, that Hideous Strength, is just, it's a much better story. But the ideas in Perelandra are still really interesting and worth getting into. So I don't want to knock the book too much. But yes, so Perelandra, that Hideous Strength is awesome. C.S. Lewis. Okay, lastly, now this is an ongoing book. I just read this in small chunks. Excuse me. This is Stephen Sondheim, Finishing the Hat, book he wrote before he died. I love the subtitle, Collected Lyrics, 1954 to 1981, with attendant comments, principles, heresies, grudges, wines, and anecdotes. I love this way Stephen Sondheim writes. You can really hear his voice. I've listened to a lot of his interviews. He's very witty, intelligent, clever, and I love getting insight into anyone's process, especially people who are passionate and creative. So this could be a poet, a storyteller, a musical theater lyricist, and music writer, of course. But I'm very interested in someone's process. And so Stephen Sondheim gets deep into his processes, and it's fun to read. It's hilarious, very insightful. And of course, it makes you want to write a musical. So, yep, that's what I'm reading now. And of course, I'm always reading the Bible. I'm in Deuteronomy myself right now. And my family and I we just finished the book of Hebrews. We're going through the book of Acts right now, and we're going through First Samuel. Hope everybody's doing great out there, and make sure you keep your reading and keep your mind open. Take care.